as you know, I had the breast cancer diagnosis back in 2012, and I had been very diligent about following up with my different doctors, and I was having some urgency and um, frequency issues with urination, and went to see my urologist, and found a urologist and started seeing him. He did the usual PSA test. He checked to see um, how well my bladder was emptying, um, through ultrasound and another device that they measure with. And then, the PSA started to climb slowly. I think at the time, back in like 2012, 2013, I think I was in the threes for the PSA. And I hadn't seen the urologist in quite a while, and he had me on a couple of prescriptions that I needed to come off of because of the breast cancer. So he gave me something else. And I followed up with him in 2016, and he did the bladder cystoscopy to check the bladder. He sent off the fluid from milking my prostate off for evaluation. I also had the standard PSA test, and I was in the fives. I was five at one point, and then all of a sudden, in beginning of 2016, that PSA number jumped to 7.7, which was the highest that I had it. So he recommended seeing a specialist up in Hartford, Connecticut, who was a robotic surgeon. So he would handle, the surgical part of it if needed. And he ordered a MRI of the prostate with a certain special protocol. They do it actually at a brain imaging center. So they only have 2 slots every Friday for prostate MRIs. And so they did that. I went back maybe a week later, and they overlaid that MRI data with a live ultrasound. So they can do a biopsy that's more pinpointed. And, it was big and scary. I had biopsies before in the office. They were not pleasant. It's a punch biopsy, spring-loaded, access through the rectum. And, at that point, when I had the 7.7, I tested positive for the prostate cancer, leading up to the specialist. So they told me that the MRI-guided prostate exam, the machine identified an area of the prostate called with a PIRADS 5 score, which meant that this particular area of the prostate was highly suspect for cancer. And so with the imaging from the ultrasound, they were able to pinpoint that area, take several punch biopsies of that section, and then they did punch biopsies on the rest of the prostate. They told me that the PIRADS 5 area, they didn't find any cancer. So they said, well, they could have missed it, maybe not, didn't go deep enough. And then the other areas that the machine didn't identify, they had one sample that had just a little bit of cancer in it. So I'm really very early stage with this, from what they think. So I'm going to be repeating the visit to the specialist up in Hartford the end of this month. They will do a rectal swab to check for what flora I have, so they can prescribe an antibiotic. and then they'll do the MRI, followed by the ultrasound guided test, biopsy, and we'll see what we have. Hopefully it's stable, and I just go on from year to year like this. I don't know how often they'll have me follow up if this one turns out the same way. I don't know if it'll be every other year, but we'll soon see. I think that's really the whole prostate story. It really is not as intense and involved as breast cancer. And that story that I have, but it's it is my life right now. So I'm just following doctor's orders. And I recently had my mammogram and my ultrasound for the breast, and she said, "You're fine. 5 years, you're done. I'll see you in a year." Although she did let me book an appointment with her PA. So I'll see her in 6 months, then I'll see my breast surgeon in a year. But other than that, I just have to focus on staying as healthy as I can, losing weight, and the weight loss is important because at my body mass a year ago, CyberKnife was not an option because of the table limits, or the machine limits, and because of the belly itself, robotics would be very difficult to do to remove the prostate. So I'm losing weight for that, losing weight for a hip replacement. So hopefully 2017 will be or 18 will be my year to have everything patched up, and I'm thinking about doing, and you can edit this out, but thinking about doing bariatric surgery. So to get the rest of the weight off. I've lost like since October, about 30 pounds. So it doesn't come off easily. Currently, I'm on a tamoxifen holiday for a month, and then I follow up with my oncologist to see if I've got any less aches and pains, and if the weight loss is increased. Tamoxifen holds on to weight